here is a review of how to set up the cameras for your movie, your animation, that will fly along with your ship and switch from different angles, front, back, side, whatever you want it to do, as your movie animates. And so we're going to set up the cameras. We drew the path. There's a lesson on that. And then we animated the ship along that path. And now that it's animated, we're going to make the cameras so we can switch to camera and create like drama as it flies along or animates along that path. And then lastly, what we'll do is we'll use what's called a stage object to switch from camera to camera and then animate those actual cameras. So the camera will like kind of pan back and forth or truck in and out. Panning is going like left and right, and then trucking is going backwards, forwards. Those are old like camera terms from like Hollywood. We kind of use the same terminology here and vocabulary when we're doing this kind of stuff. All right, so here's an example right here where you see in this space project. We're going to do one external camera where it just kind of watches the plane, it tracks the rocket ship and watches it whiz on by. So you see how the camera's moving here from front to back. That is what we're going to do with the cameras as we switch back and forth to different cameras. There's a front cam. So this, this kid did his name was Umberto. He did a really good, I think, job with his cameras. There's the external camera. So this one gives the impression of speed as it whizzes on by. All right, so let's set up those cameras. You can already see I have some cameras here on this project. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to the default camera. And then I'm going to destroy all these cameras. Now the cameras, it's important to know, will go inside the ship because they're going to fly with the ship, with the exception of one camera, and that is going to stay outside the ship. We're going to call it X for external. So that means it's not flying with the ship, it's on the outside, and it just tracks the ship from wherever it is. And you can see that camera, the external camera, is right here. You want to place the external camera where you can see the ship coming and going pretty well. So there's the external camera right there, that's it. And if you watch that, it'll track the ship. And then when we get to that point where it's going to go by that right here, that's when we'll switch over to that camera and then watch it whiz on by and then switch off of that camera and go to one of the other cameras. So you switch back and forth between other cameras. And this is just the way that movies and television are shot today with cameras, is they set up cameras in all these interesting angles and directions and then switch back and forth to create the drama. They don't just film from one camera and then that's it. So when you start watching movies, start taking notice of the camera work, because it's very similar to what we do in 3D. All right, so I'm going to have to eradicate all of these cameras. See, when you set up your cameras, go back to square one. And what we're going to do is I'm also going to teach a motion camera to the advanced class. The beginning classes will just use what's called a target camera. Most of your cameras will be a target camera. A target camera basically is like when you watch an animal show, National Geographic or something, and they tag an animal with a radio collar, and then they can track that animal wherever it goes. Or, like a movie, like a spy movie where they plant a bug on somebody, and then they can track wherever they're going and stuff, or, sci-fi or something. That's what a target camera does. The target goes on your ship, the camera gets placed around your ship, the camera looks at the target. So we're going to use nothing but target cameras, okay? And there's a reason for that. As I kind of make them, I'll show you. So I'm going to destroy. When you make a target camera, it comes with two parts. It comes with the camera and it comes with the target. And you usually want to, it'll just say camera and camera target, and you'll end up with 50 of them all with the same name. So the best thing you can do is just start naming them like rear cam, front cam, and then and stuff like that, or rear camera target, front camera target, things like that, so that you can, this is kind of half-assed the way I did it, but you want to name the camera and the camera target so that they're a set, basically. So I'm going to delete all these already existing cameras, except for the EX camera. We'll do that last. and I'm going to set up, you need a minimum of 3 cameras, a front camera, a back camera, and a external camera. So you go get camera, target camera, and when you make that, oh, I still have a target there. When you make that, it'll make it up here at the top called camera, camera target. Let's call this, we'll set up the rear camera first. So we'll call this rear camera target and then rear camera, so we know what they do. And they're a little tricky to position. It takes a little bit of, I'm going to click off of it, a little bit of, so you can zoom out, a little bit of coordination. The camera has an aperture, and it appears that little thing right there, that's the camera, and it has like a little wire frame. Let's see if I can zoom in on it. Oh, I zoomed past it. A wire frame little icon of a camera, there it is, and then it has this big aperture, and you don't need the aperture to be like this big unruly thing, so you can click on these little dots and shrink it down to make it more manageable and like make it a wider angle and stuff like that. So that's how you adjust that. But what we're needing to do here is we're going to need to move the camera over. Now the camera is always looking at the target, so if I were to grab the target right now, and if you watch the camera, see how the camera moves? Let's move the target closer to the camera so you can see it. So the camera will follow wherever the target goes. Okay, they use this all the time in video games too. So what you're going to have to do is take the target, first of all, and position it on your ship. And then this can take considerable time because, you know, you're trying to look at this 3D universe, and you know, your ship is this little itty bitty thing, and you could use your other views to do that, or you know, zoom in on it until you get it close enough, and then make sure that your target is on the ship. See, if like right there it looks like, oh, I nailed it, but if you look at it from a different angle, it's way over there, the camera's not going to be looking at your ship. It's like, have you ever talked to somebody and then they're staring off into space and not like looking at you or paying attention to when you're talking to them? That's basically the feeling you're going to get from your animation, because your camera won't be looking at what you want it to look at. So place it like in the spot where you want the camera to focus on. I'm going to say like right there, smack dab middle of my ship. Okay? And then after you position the target, you go select your camera. The target has no substance other than some axes, so you're just going to have to work with that. But go to your camera and move your camera towards your ship. And whenever you're moving this around the view and rotating and zooming in and out, it goes from whatever is selected over here, because we're in a mode under cameras for navigation, we're on object mode, and that makes sure that when you move your view around, but you can go to different things like camera mode and center mode, all this stuff, and those are can get a little crazy. So object mode is actually the easiest one to do. And so I need to take my camera and move it to my ship. Now when the camera moves, remember it pivots from the target. And so this is called panning, when it goes back and forth like that. And then this is called trucking. Okay, so side to side is panning. And it kind of pivots. It doesn't move like a normal object. And you're going to be like, what the hell? So it'll take you a minute to kind of get used to that. So get in there and get it up close, and then adjust your camera, and then move it to the side you want it to like be on, left or right. And then if you want to see through the eyes of the camera, you could go to cameras in the view palette here, go to use camera, and go look through your rear camera, and then that's the view. Now while you're looking through it, you can adjust it. So you can go to your moving tool up here and your rotation tool, and I can kind of like move it around and kind of get a better angle, and I can even like zoom in and out and like rotate it a little bit. You can even move the target so that it gets closer to it. There's all kinds of ways to adjust it while you're looking through it, but you want to get it in position for the most part, and then do the minor adjusting, and then, you know, render it and see like how does that look. Okay, you know, does that look like it's, you know, is it a good view? Does everything, you know, look appealing and whatever? Okay, so like my space here isn't like, it's quickly set up, so I don't have the best looking space here. And my rocket, I just kind of put some quick colors on there. I don't even know if they're working right now. I have like a weird color on my rocket. I don't know if I want to keep that or not. I might, you know, bring in a different rocket or recolor that rocket. It has some flames on it, and those are missing right now. So remember, if your texture's missing, it'll be blank, so you could like this, or it'll be black. And if that happens, it's kind of good we review it right now. That means that the picture you put on it is missing, and the picture that I put on it is called 123.png. So I need to look, I don't know why I named it that, 123.png. And there it is, and I'm going to hit open and yes, and put it back in there. That was also on alpha. 123.png. Alright, and then now that texture should be working again. Let's see what that looks like. Flames are there. I don't know about the other stuff. Let's see if we can. Looks like I made it a blue metallic. I don't know why I did that. So I'm gonna dump the blue metallic, and we'll put on this color. I'll replace that. Let's see how that looks. Alright, that looks better. We'll keep that. Or, you know what, my little rockets now need to be colored. They only got the invisible fire on them. So, let's see. That, and that. So I'm wasting a little time. But it's always good to like double check, you know, your systems and make sure everything is kind of working there. And I know I have a set selection here somewhere. I think it's, I'm trying to find it. I don't know. Well, I'll fix this afterwards. We do our camera. Okay, now what is my big mistake that I'm doing right now? Okay, and I kind of did this on purpose. As I've started working on my ship and I'm adjusting my view, right? Well, what am I on? I'm on the camera. It's really easy to forget you're on your camera and start doing this kind of stuff and then completely wrecking the setup that you just so carefully did with your camera. The default camera is where you want to go when you're ready to start working on it again. Okay, so that's what I should have done, and then started adjusting. Instead of, I was using my rear camera, and so under cameras you can go look through your cameras, and I screwed up my carefully placed view. All right, so you want to check yourself when you're doing that. Okay, so the camera target goes on the ship. There it is, right there. There's the target. Okay, and the rear camera is what we're looking through. You can go to default camera and see there is the rear camera. Now both of those are going to fly with the ship, so if you don't put them in the ship and the ship takes off, oh well, you just left your camera and your target behind and there's nothing to look at. So you missed your, like the bus left and you're standing there on the curb like an idiot. So you're gonna go and get those cameras and those targets, you're gonna put them in your ship, the one that has the tag that you're animating it from, okay? and roll that up. And any other camera you set up is going to get the same exact treatment. So let's do that one more time and do a front camera. And what am I still doing here? I'm on the default camera because I can see my camera. You just be careful you're not on your actual camera when you start like, oh, I'm going to start working and doing stuff. Because you'll be like, oh no, I screwed up my camera. All right, so let's go make another camera. We're gonna go back to the default camera, and then we're gonna go make another target camera. We're gonna name this front. So we double click on the word, and clickety click, front. So we know that's a set. It's just wise to do that because sometimes you end up with like a jillion, billion, zillion, million cameras. There's my target. I'm gonna push that down and push it over to me ship, and I'm way below it, so I have to try to figure that out. Takes like a minute or two to kind of like nudge it over a little bit at a time and get it in position and adjust your view and all that crap. All right, so let's get the camera over there. Now, where should the front camera look? I'm gonna put it maybe where the cockpit is, and then double check myself and make sure. See, it's not on the cockpit. I want it to look right there on the nose of the ship or close to it. Okay, and then once we get that in position, then we go to the camera, and we will, I'm over here on my polygons tool for some reason. I will go ahead and go to the modeling tool, adjust the aperture of the camera so it's a little easier to control, and then we have to get that into position. So we're gonna, we have to see how we have to truck it. It moves like way the hell over here. It's still looking at the target though, and then we can, or we had to pan it, and now we're gonna truck it forward. So trucking is moving forwards, backwards, and panning is left and right, sorry. And maybe dip it down, and then over. And then let's go look through that camera and see how that looks, front cam. All right, I think I want it at the side a little bit, so I'm gonna adjust it just ever so slightly. I think that looks a little bit better. So I can see the, remember your rocket blast won't be visible in some cases, you know, so I want to be able to see that and stuff like that. All right, so I don't know, is that where I want it to go? I don't know. We'll kind of, I could always adjust it a little bit from there. And then the target, we can zoom out a little bit to get it a further away. You don't want to be like this, that's stupid. So you want to have like good views of your ship. I mean, you don't want to be like in the ship, but you can, you know, adjust it so you're looking like that as you fly and the camera moves around. So these cameras are going to move around. They're not going to stay exactly in the spot. If the camera stays exactly in the spot during the entire animation, you'll have a bit what they call a popsicle stick animation. And they made fun of that in Futurama once, where they said that the universe moves around the ship and not the ship actually moving. In Futurama, if you ever watched that, it's kind of, I think it's an inside joke for animation, basically. If you don't move your camera around, or you don't have it from different angles or views, it's not going to look like it's flying. It's going to look like everything else is flying, and your ship is standing there like an old popsicle stick puppet show. All right, so you want to make sure that the camera is going to be like zoom, 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 and moving around and stuff like that as your animation progresses. All right, so do we want these to be outside the ship? Negative, Red Leader. We want to take them and put them into the spaceship so that they fly with the spaceship. So now we can actually like watch our animation, and if like we're going to smack into a planet, we can kind of see when the planet smacks into us, and that what we'll have to do to make the planet avoid smacking into us. I can go and switch to the rear camera and then scrub my animation and watch the whole thing as I go through that. Okay, so remember, we're still going to have to animate the camera moving around. It's not going to stay, in that set position as it animates with your ship. All right, now if you want to set up any other cameras, feel free to do so. So for instance, if you want to have a side cam or an underneath cam or a top cam or a cockpit cam where you're looking out from the cockpit, I've had people set up like a console and like controls and what it looks like from the pilot's point of view. which is more first person. We're kind of doing this a little third person. Third person is when you watch it. First person is when like you are the thing animating. And we'll do some first person later. But if you want to design a cockpit and work a little bit more on your ship when I give you some more time, you can design like some controls and levers and, you know, like a control stick or steering wheel, whatever you want to do, and put a camera inside the actual cockpit and make it look like you're the pilot's point of view from that animation. That could be cool too, and then switch back and forth, and people can create all kinds of fun drama making different cameras. But right now, those are the only two required. Besides, the third one that's required is the external camera. Now that, you're going to make a target for that. So it's going to be just the same thing, a target camera. And then the advanced class, I will go over motion camera just in class. I'm not going to put it in here. So target camera, remember we got to go back and use the default camera. The target camera for the EX is the target is right there, or floating above here. We're going to have to put that on the ship as we always do. The target has to go smack dab on the ship for the external camera. Let's rename these cameras. We'll call it EX for external. I'm calling it external because it's not going inside the ship's null object. Okay, you can call it tracker camera, whatever you want to call it. External, so you know the difference of the cameras, like which is your rear cam, front cam, and which is your tracker external cam. All right, and so get your axes together. All right, and then this one is the really important setup, because the external camera is what we want it to do is when your ship you want to place it in an area where you can see the ship coming and going very nicely, and that'll create the impression of speed. You're not really getting a true impression of like how fast it's going until you switch to the external camera and you watch it whiz on by and kind of buzz the camera. All right, so which buzz means to like fly really close to the camera. All right, so the external camera, you need a good spot to place it. My target's on it just fine now. The target, the EX camera target will not fly with your ship, but the EX camera will. So I'm gonna put it in my ship right now, and then I'm gonna go adjust that camera. So where is that camera? All right, is the question. It looks like it's right there, doubled up on the other camera, and it's kind of weird the way they placed that, but I'm gonna go find a good spot. Where can I see my animation coming and going? Like, I'm thinking like a hill, like a good hill. So I'm thinking like this hill right here. So let's go to the points tool so you can see it. Where's our spline? There it is. So right there, I'm going to select the point. I think that's a good place to put the camera because they can see it coming and going, unless there's another hill that's better, and it's like, oh, there is. That's the one that I used before. So this one's even taller. I'm going to put it at the top of like the roller coaster hill because I think it'll look cool to see it kind of climb up and then whiz on by. Or you can put it on a straight part or a big wide turn. Don't put it on something weird. And then, so you want to get that in position, okay? And so let's go to the camera. It's over here. The external camera. And I'm going to place it on the top of that hill. About where the other one is. All right, and I want to get it pretty close to the path here so that when it whizzes on by, I have a really good view. Now, is this camera going to be on the whole time? No. I'm only going to switch to that camera when the ship gets close. So I'm going to scrub. Oops, you know what I did? I'm sorry. My total awful badness is the EX camera doesn't go in the ship. What am I thinking? the EX camera target goes in the ship. All right. I was like, why isn't it working? And you know, it's early. It's like 6:30 right now. So the EX, I want this camera to not fly with the ship. I want it to track the ship, and in order to track the ship, it's got to track the target. So now you see the camera moving around. So we would switch to this camera right about here, and then so let's go look through it. EX camera, and then it whizzes on by, and it follows the ship as it goes by. So what we don't want to have is this camera to be like this far away. That's stupid. So you want to get it close to the spot where you can see it buzz the camera, not smack into it. And you want to see it coming. So I would switch over this camera right about here. I would watch my ship go zoom on by, and then at that point, when we start learning the stage object, I would switch back to maybe the front cam, and we can watch it come out of the turn, and then maybe I switch over to the rear cam as it animates and stuff like that, okay? And so we're gonna save this as it is, and then the next review lesson, we'll actually start animating the cameras, and then lastly, we'll do our stage object, and then we'll be done. And then you can render the animation, and I'll put that in the review as well. All right, so is everybody clear? Because I'm gonna do this in class as well. Let's review. The rear camera target, the rear camera both go inside your spaceship that's animating. The front camera target both go in a spaceship that's animating. You have to position the targets and the cameras here physically on the screen and put it in your ship over here. The EX camera target is the only thing that goes in the spaceship so that the camera may track it, because the camera always looks at the target. So if the target's flying around inside the spaceship, that camera will follow it. And you can see that here with that camera that's moving right now, okay? And so that camera stays outside of the ship. We don't want it flying. That was my mistake that I made a minute ago, which, you know, occasionally I do make mistakes. All right, now, I have an extra EX camera here because, and I put a texture on it. I don't know why I did that. I don't need that one anymore. I can delete it. I only need the one. That was the one that was previously on the file that I'm currently working on. Okay? Make sure all your textures are working, and make sure your everything, you know, before you render, you got to do a check. But we still have a long ways to go. We have to start animating the camera going back and forth. So what I mean by that is, like, as you're on that camera, you don't do it to the external camera, you do it to like the rear camera or something. So as the ship, this is animating, I would take the rear camera and we would physically alter the position of the camera and physically, you know, have it move around and do this kind of thing as it animates and move the position, you know, so that kind of stuff will create the impression of flight, and it's really important. You can't have the camera sit still, okay? And we'll animate the camera target, we'll animate the camera, there's all kinds of stuff. And then we could also do like a barrel roll, where you take the camera and you go to coordinates and you just figure out which axes you want it to do, and you can physically make the camera rotate around and do a barrel roll. I'm kind of stuck in position right now, I won't do it, but I'll show you that when we get to that, okay? So this is just the beginning of your camera work. Remember, don't work on the camera, go back to the default camera. All right, I'll see you in class, bye.